Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and this video is focused on the babies that were born in July 2025. It is now May 2026, and over the last few months, I've been getting this inspiration to talk about the children that were born in 2025, actually 2024, 2025, and 2026. The children that were born in 2024 were kind of the last phase of the deconstruction crew. They experienced some astrological dynamics that were giving way to the children that would be born subsequently that would really grow up in a whole new world. The outer planets have changed signs and moved into elements they haven't been in hundreds of years, at least Neptune and Pluto. And this is really birthing a new consciousness of human. So what I want to do today is first I'm going to talk a little bit about the planets, about what their function is. And then I'm going to pull up the chart for July and I'm going to go through a few days and just kind of talk generally about the landscape of what your children will be walking through and how maybe you could potentially help them and support them as they traverse unknown territory in their childhood, especially. Okay, so let's start with the outer planets, as they are really what we call generational planets. So all the children of the earth will be under this influence of Uranus entering Gemini. In 2025, Uranus is at the late degrees of Taurus. So the people born in the beginning of 2025 experience that. And then the people that are in the second half of 2025 will experience Uranus moving into a whole new sign. I just wanted to look at my notes real quick because Uranus, I'm not sure if it's in July or August that it actually moves into Gemini, but we'll be looking at the chart in a minute. Neptune moved into Aries for the first time since the United States Civil War, which is around 1861. This is truly an unprecedented aspect in your child's natal chart because Saturn was conjunct Neptune, and that has not happened according to ChatGPT. The last time that happened was the year 555 AD. And this is really reconstructing the history of humans through a spiritual lens, through a spiritual dynamic. And depending upon where Aries is in your child's chart will indicate where this new birth will begin. We also have Pluto that moved into Aquarius. Pluto moved into Aquarius in 2024 and will remain in Aquarius for 20 years. That is truly a world-changing dynamic. With Pluto rules power and control. It governs, I should say, power and control and the psychological dynamics that actually allow us to have power and control over others, whether it's money, sex, prestige, influence. Scorpio sort of rules all of those things and the psychology underneath it. And Pluto's move through Aquarius is really unearthing any stagnation, any inauthenticity, to reveal a deeper truth of the soul's experience on the earth plane. So this is all super super transformational, but it's literally like these outer planets are birthing the caterpillar from the butterfly, or birthing the butterfly from the caterpillar. Quickly, let's talk about the inner planets, the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. These represent character traits. They represent personality traits. They represent earthly dynamics. The sun represents the I am, my identity. The moon represents how I feel, how I emote. Mercury represents how I think and communicate. Venus represents how I belong, how I partner, and Mars represents how I take action. So these are going to be very, very powerful dynamics for you to know, because when you look at your child's natal chart, depending upon the sign, the house, and the interaction the planet is having with other planets will give you an idea of how your child behaves. And then we have the semi-personal planets, which move slowly, but not that slowly around the zodiac. Jupiter takes 12 years to move through, 12 years plus or minus, depending on retrogrades around the zodiac, and Saturn takes 30 years, 28 to 30 years plus or minus. And they represent sort of this personal aspects of ourself, but on a more communal level. That's the best way I can say that. Now, something that's very powerful is the nodes. The nodes of the moon represent an emotional dynamic of karma. The south node represents habits of thought, habits of belief, habits of action, a default mechanism. And often it is through that, the erosion of that default, that we see our expansion, which allows us to move up towards our north node. This is a point where we can be ravenous to experience our evolution, to experience a new version of who and what we are. And at the time of the July energy, the nodes are in the Virgo and Pisces axis, which is extremely powerful. For the south node being in Virgo is about eroding of systems or daily activities or processes or ways of analyzing things. And analyzation often can bring worry, because even though Virgo is not necessarily represented as a history sign, it is, because it looks back in the past to assess how the future will move forward. And that can trip you up a little bit. So we'll look a little bit at that. And then we have the asteroid Chiron. Chiron represents the chronic wound that the human carries within its existence. It is not healable, but it is balanceable. I don't really like the term healing personally. I think it's disempowering. Every dark spot has an opportunity to allow light to shine. And that's the contrast of the earth plane and the thing that we forget when we inhabit this human structure. So to me, Chiron's wound and once transformed, which is the understanding, extracting the wisdom, seeing that this experience was not meant to hurt me, but to compel me, literally, because pain compels, and most humans don't do much unless they're uncomfortable. So let's pull up the chart and look at some of the aspects that'll be going or were going on in July of 2025. Now, I'm not labeling this video Cancer or Leo, because I'm labeling it by the month, because it's the dynamics of the planets that I want you to see. The specific, your child's specific chart will reveal more, but this will give you an idea. So here, first thing we see, or at least the first thing I see, is Venus's conjunction with Taurus. I'm sorry, with Uranus in Taurus. Venus is the I belong, I partner, but she also rules money. She rules in Taurus, she rules things that have to do with resources and things that make you feel secure, like having a roof over your head, having plenty of food in the refrigerator, knowing that lights will be on. When she is at this anaretic degree, conjunct Uranus, Uranus, again, is a very slow moving planet, but it's a libertarian planet. It's a planet that takes 7 to 8 years through each sign. And here it is at the last degree of Taurus, almost ravenous to move into Gemini, where it will feel much more comfortable. Gemini will bring about a whoosh of speed. So here we're in these last degrees of tension to really claim myself, to belong to myself, to attach myself to my future and what the potentials are when I click into my talents, my resources. And in Taurus, Venus rules the voice. She's the ruler of the house. And the voice is not just a singing voice, but a voice that speaks my opinion. So I think that will be something you'll see. And they could be very creative with technology. These kids could not only pick up technology, but early on find resources that come to them as a result of how they interact with technology. Now, again, it's May 2026. I believe that technology is going to do things I can't personally perceive at this moment. So that's a little up for grabs. I'm not just talking about, being on TikTok and having a viral video. I'm talking about something that's sustainable and contributes to the future. We see that one of the beautiful dynamics for these kids that are born in July is that Jupiter is in exaltation in Cancer, which means that Jupiter is in its highest vibration. It's an honored guest here. This is where you roll out the red carpet, you bring out the fine china. There are parades, there are celebrations. So the children born at this time with Jupiter, what we call conjunct, hanging out with the sun, will be very expansive about who and what they are and how they want to express themselves. They will be potentially very attached to the traditions of their home, and also wanting to express those traditions of home in a new and expansive, innovative way. Jupiter is also a money sign, a wealth house, or a wealth planet. So this helps contribute to Venus here. They're not actually speaking to one another, but in the natal chart, I believe these are favorable dynamics for both these grouping of planets. There could be a tendency to initially, I would imagine that these children have a sense of themselves that is more expansive at a young age than most parents would think. So that might be a little bit of a challenge for you as the guardian of one of these children. Mom, I want to start cooking, and I'm 3 years old. Let me get near the hot stove. You might have to say, all right, let's find a way we can do this without you hurting yourself. Again, there's a whole new rebirthing of the self that's taking place. And the square between Jupiter and Neptune and Saturn is a tension between the family tradition and home, for the most part, and the individuality that's expressed in the Aries energy. I'm not going to discuss the moon very much in these videos because the moon moves so quickly that it would not be relevant in a general video like this. But overall, I think that Mars in Virgo is giving us the energy and the ability to really, when I take action on a regular basis, and the action is not just about the process of what I want, but about how I go about the process. What is my belief system about it? Do I believe what I'm endeavoring is valuable to me and therefore potentially valuable to others? When that is activated, we see a stronger potential for this expansion. Because the one challenge about Neptune here and Saturn on the shadow side was feeling very repressed by old systems or fears or trepidations and even obligations. And when we've got Neptune and Jupiter together, there could be religious dynamics that feel repressive. And that does not mean that you are a religious person that's overly strict. It could be part of your child's soul, that it has a soul memory of devoting itself to another cause and being self-deprecating. And they may be walking themselves out of that at this time. Let's go to, let's go to the 12th. We move off Jupiter. So at this time, Neptune started a retrograde. We see it here. Neptune's going to retrograde back through Aries. Now, this means something different for these children that are born in the middle of June and forward. Uranus has moved into Gemini. That's huge. This is the second time that happened earlier. Oh my gosh. No, this is the first move. I'm in 2026 and I'm going back a year. So in my mind, it's actually the first time that Uranus has moved into Gemini. So we're just getting a taste of what that energy is like. And I think this is really important because anything at the 0 degree is something completely new, something that we're almost being birthed into a new energy. And this would be the energy of great genius and thought and actual practical application for the people. This is a very patriotic dynamic, I think, of Uranus and Gemini, where I'm literally power to the people. We also, when we continue to see Jupiter, it's going to be in Cancer for until 2026. But this retrograde of Neptune and its activation, the sextile here to Pluto, Pluto makes a favorable aspect to Uranus. I'll click on Uranus real quick. There you can see now these outer planets are setting the stage for these children to move into their future with a greater awareness of what has held them back, or what structures, what fears, what obligations, what responsibilities. And these responsibilities don't have to necessarily be ones that you've imposed upon the children, but ones that their soul came in with. There's this potential that when we're seeing Saturn in Aries, there's a repression of the self initially before it expresses itself in a higher vibration. I personally like Saturn in Aries because I think it's a strategist. It's somebody who knows how to plan for the long game. And with Neptune conjunct it, we can foster an awareness of a soul's intention that allows the Aries energy to understand the pacing of the journey. Aries wants to move fast, 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 get there fast, fast, fast. So the activation that we see in this sextile to Uranus is not just about the future, but that there are potentials as these children grow that you as parents can't see, in the way of job opportunities, in the way of growing learning experiences, in the way of even how they will transport themselves from one place to another. But for me, whenever I see Pluto in the mix, I'm seeing, and we see Pluto making a sextile here. I'm going to click on this. There's a psychological dynamic, and Pluto in this retrograde is asking these children to remember who they are on a soul level, and to be steadfast and to endure potential misunderstanding in that endeavor, because they are bridging a gap between old Earth and new Earth. Okay, let's click off Neptune. Now we see Mars is in a conjunction with the South Node. And this period of time, which is, I'm going to actually move a couple of days over. I'll move to say the 15th. Now we see this South Node within 3 degrees of Mars is going to bring out a habit. It's going to indicate a habit of either moving too fast, being impatient, being snippy, a little bit of a warrior there and a little bit of a challenge in the Virgo energy with Mars, because it can be almost so practical that it can take actions that can say, well, the means outweigh how's the end outweigh the means, or the outcome is more important than the path to getting there. So, and they could turn on themselves as well. So you want to be mindful of that potential inner critic that is beating itself up. We do see, as is also further indicated by the square to Venus, which will get a little tighter as the month goes on. Right now, we're still in the Cancer energy here, but as we move into the Leo energy, we're going to see Venus get into a tighter square with this configuration. So it could have something to do with their sense of self-worth, how they interact. You could even find potentially that these children are impatient with processes that are, to them, what will appear to be antiquated. I don't want to sit down and do my homework, because on a soul level, they know that process is no longer going to be used in the future. It's like when I was in school, girls had to take a sewing and cooking class. It was mandatory. They wouldn't even dream of doing that these days, or pigeonholing us into those roles. So that could be part of what this square to Venus is as well. A tension between what I know of myself and how it's being expressed, or how the outside world interprets it. Okay, that square actually goes on until the 20th. So these children that are born during this time, this is the tighter the numbers are. Like right now, we see Venus is at 18 degrees, Mars is at 19 degrees, the South Node's gone retrograde again. This makes this more tense. The wider the numbers are, and I'm speaking to you as if you don't know astrology. So if you do know astrology, please forgive me. I'm not trying to treat you like you don't know what you're talking about, but I'm trying to make this universal for everyone. This is a challenging dynamic. At the same time, we have a little bit of a challenge. Saturn has gone retrograde. Both these planets are going to move back into Pisces. And so they're hovering on this world axis. The world axis is like the birth canal of an experience. And whatever house this is in for your child will be what will set the landscape of what they're birthing. So I think this is important. We also see that Mercury has gone retrograde. So when a planet is retrograde in a natal chart, they say that there is benefit in that. You know, if you have Mercury retrograde in your chart, Mercury retrogrades work for you. But overall, a retrograde planet is an opportunity to rest, to reevaluate, to fine tune things. It is a time when you want to be more methodical, I think, or more aware of your actions and how you participate in them. And so with this Mercury also representing how I think in the sign of Leo, this would be also how you communicate. And revisiting if you're communicating in a way that supports you. This is Venus making a sextile here to Mercury. Does my language match what I think and feel about myself? And is that indeed matching what I want to experience? So you got to stretch yourself up beyond what you see into what you believe to be true. And through that belief, it will manifest. So by the time we get to the 18th and all the way through the end of the month, the children born in the sign of end of Cancer and Leo have 4 planets retrograde: Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto. So they are here as, especially I think maybe the Leo babies are here to really revisit. Let's move the story forward just a wee bit. Let's go to say the 28th. They're here to revisit how they express themselves coming from their heart. One of the main themes of a Leo rising, okay, that's not the sun, is will you have the courage to follow your heart? That's kind of a main theme of Leo. So these planets supporting this spiritual awareness of human structures that erode me or that limit me or that restrict me or put me in a sense of obligation. So it isn't necessarily negative to have retrograde planets. It's just that the soul is choosing an experience that's going to have them think twice, feel twice, look twice, and make sure that the path is authentic. Okay, I'm going to stop my share for now. Overall, I think what I'm really trying to express is that these children are magical. And while we all carry a path of challenges, strengths, weaknesses, challenges, and opportunities, we all, up until this time, generations were not aware of those choices. And so when we think of ourselves as co-creators, then when we run across something that is challenging, we can enjoy it more. We can take it less seriously, and we can then realign to the experience we want to have. And that is what I believe these children are birthing. It's very powerful to have the Cancer rules the moon, okay? Or the moon rules the sign of Cancer, and I'll learn to speak correctly sometime in this life. The moon is the mother, the intuit. I've got an eye in the back of my head. I can see everything you're doing. And then Leo, the sun rules the father, the leadership, what we call the man of the house. So in this particular period of time, these energies are being sort of opened up to see their potentials and to step into them. But it will require them to be brave and to, on some level, be willing to implement these things on a regular basis, making processes out of them that feel logical rather than think logical. If you'd like to get your child's chart looked at and see how magical they are, my information is below. You're also welcome to get your own chart done. I also do intuitive readings, just simply intuitive ones. So please check out your possibilities, and please like, please subscribe, and please share. I look forward to interacting with your children via astrology more in the future. Have a lovely day. Have a lovely life. See you soon.